The next one is called Vision. After snow, I widen squinched up eyes, watch tips of pine floating trunkless over muffled ridges, or seem to. What flickered once is holding now, the first clear light after nights that almost close their eyes for good, like you, like me, snowed in for years, as disembodied as the wintry pines, our final talk dead as year-end wishes. I want a softer light, the cold undone by thinking it, as scraps of leaf released from melting ice rejoin the soaking earth, crumbling, fungal, rich as make-believe. That one is actually just published in Free Inquiry, of all places. This one, a little different. It's called Actium, and some of you may know that Actium was a guy in Greek myth who happened to see the goddess Artemis bathing naked, and she was annoyed, of course, and turned him into a stag, and he ran off, and his hounds didn't recognize him and tore him to pieces. And he kept calling their names, but of course she took away his speech from him, so the dogs didn't recognize the stag calling their names. And when I read that story in Ovid originally, and I just thought it was really heartrending, not that he was just torn apart, but that he wasn't heard. So my poem is really about not being heard. Actium. 4 o'clock and your red necklace thrown for the night chokes you, son, to your knees, your blood draining away to invisible mirrors, green with what you're not. Today you gave me red-tipped stamens, filled my mind with green words. What were you thinking? I burned, and now my branches supplicant black, my hair's lank, and dogs snap at my ribs. When I call my name, they barely hear this cracked and broken howling. They tear my arms, my face. In a crimson mist, I climb again and again the broken stairway up to your green and red unopened door. However, this next one and the next two are some of the possibly the old griefs that I mentioned in the last poem, going back to my childhood. This first one, Curious Girl, I have to just say a couple of words about it. My mother died when I was 4, and for a couple of years my sister and I were in foster care and then in a children's home, an orphanage. And the county where I grew up in England pushed my father into doing this because it was the 1950s, and of course, men couldn't take care of children, And I've since heard of this has happened to other people. It's not so uncommon. But anyway, eventually he got us back, and we, grew up with him. But this is about the orphanage time, and it's called Curious Girl. These are the facts. We had baked beans for tea, hot and slightly sweet, on crunchy toast. I'm fairly sure I didn't know why my sister and I were there, with children who were different, holding their knives and forks the wrong way, grabbing what they wanted. And grown-ups we had to call aunts and uncles, although they weren't. My father's face emerges, solemn, there for a moment, then gone. I knew they called this place a home. It wasn't. What was I thinking? Just trying, maybe, to fit in. And when the daughter of an aunt, a blonde, a popular girl, wanted me, but not my sister, as her friend, I wavered for a day or two, then dropped her, and joined a gang of boys instead for their rebel act, to pile up all the books on a dorm room floor and rip them to pieces. I picked an entire bed of daffodils once. I wanted to know, I think, how it felt, and threw them in the bin. Was I punished? I don't recall, though other children were caned for naughtiness. True, I was only 4. Maybe it was my deference or sorrow, but lots of kids had dead mothers, so what? I'm still a quiet rebel, though now a lover of books and flowers. People, I'm not so sure. But when I see a girl with skinny arms poking out from the sleeves of a loose dress, something in me softens, and I wonder at it. And this next one, actually, that one is fairly recent. It was recently published in a UK magazine called Riptide, actually. And the next one is in one of my chapbooks, and is sort of about my mother and the way she sort of haunted me for a while, not anymore. I'm at peace with it. It's called Through the Window. I rested my head on the open oven door until in a waking dream I saw my mother, almost alive again, as I'd wished as a child, when I'd whisper, "Come down," to the photo on the wall. Now she stood atop the garden steps, smiling as she had for the picture, and I saw through the kitchen window that she wore the same white sweater she had worn then, year of my birth. So I too was in the picture, but invisible. The smile went on and on, terrifying because of that. She seemed to call, "Come up, end your life with me as you began it." I closed my eyes, leaned there on the burnt apple stains and wept, for her, for me, and turned away from the white image, went out into the terrible bitterness of the world and the rare moments of radiance that come after years of dark tunneling, then go, then come again. And I'm okay. I really am.